My name is Richard Wearmouth. I'm the County Councillor for Kirkhill here in Morpeth, and I'm also the Cabinet Member for the Economy in the County Council.
Tell us a little bit about what's happening here today.
So today we're here with the latest stage of the Morpeth Masterplan. We had a drop-in session, as you may remember, last November, where people came and gave us some ideas about the things that they wanted to see happen in Morpeth, what they were concerned about, and things that we needed to address. So this is the next step. We've come back, we've got some feedback on some of the key issues that were arising, things such as parking in the town centre, around schools and school places, leisure facilities and what people might want to see in a revised leisure offering, improvements to Carlisle Park and other recreational facilities more generally around the town. And also, one of the things that people specifically raised was the number of sites that had boards up or were standing empty, and so today we're joined by a number of developers, including developers of the Benfield site just behind the Waterford Lodge. We've got Ken Beattian, who is dealing with the police station and obviously has more than an interest in improvements at Craik Park and for Morpeth Town. And also we're going to be joined by the group behind the Queen's Head, and they're going to be here telling us what the next steps are. And indeed, if you're going down the street today, you'll see them putting the hoardings up outside the building as they start to go on to the next stage of their development.
What were the issues that came out most significantly from the last session?
Most significantly, people were keen to see improvements of the leisure centre, not necessarily wholesale change or rebuild, but to see the facilities improve. They were looking a bit tired, a bit jaded. People were concerned, again, as I say, about school places, and already avid readers of the Herald or Morpeth Matters or wherever will see that we've got additional places going into the middle schools in the town already. We've got a replacement that will be built now for Goose Hill First School, and that will be located up at Loansdean. There was a lot of comment about that. And again, more generally, it was about the appearance of the town, about getting some of those disused sites into action and being used by the town. And as well, obviously, an ongoing question around car parking and a lot of pressure on that to make sure that we get that right.
And do you think that the people who come here today will be satisfied with what they see and hear?
Well, I would hope so. We've got, if we look first of all perhaps at the three developers that we've got with us, Ken's got some really interesting proposals regarding the police station and an update there, which I'm sure people will find fascinating. People for a long time have been talking about the Queen's Head and what's happening there. It's been a really significant question for Morpeth. It sits right at the town centre and has been a concern for a long time. And again, you'll be able to get an update on that. And as well for Benfield, it's sat there for a long time, and people will be interested, I'm sure, to see what's happening with that. When it comes to car parking, we've got some ideas, but we don't want to suggest that that is the solution that necessarily is going to be taken on. We want to hear this report that's been done by Councillor Sanderson and his team, looking at how we could make better use of the existing spaces that we've got and what new spaces we need, and so we want to hear feedback on that before we go on to the next stage with that. And then with the leisure centre, we got the message that there's improvements that need to be made, but what we would really like this time is to hear what people want in terms of the offering. It's a heavily used centre in itself, and we want to see what more people want from it in the future.
So after today, what happens? What's the next stage of the process? So
the next stage, again, I think that what we'll find is that we'll have a series of these updates. People value them and they're finding them useful. The next stage will be to identify what might happen on the terrace site, which is the one where the old library building used to be, which has been demolished a little while ago for additional car parking. So we would like to think that we'll bring a solution forward for that. Looking at the next stage of what the leisure centre offering might be and how we can improve that. And ultimately, the aim will be a document that people can go to. They can say, well, this is what the people of Morpeth want from their town centre and its surroundings, and can take their guide from that when they're putting proposals forward. And that is the council and, of course, developers who want to invest here.
I think there's probably been quite a bit of concern in Morpeth about these sites which have stood vacant, disused, stagnated for a long time. Do you think that at last things are beginning to move in the right direction?
Yes, I do, and it's been something that in some ways has been a little bit kick-started or boosted by this process of putting attention onto the town and getting the residents engaged with what's happening in Morpeth. And so when we've gone through this process, we've been able to say to developers who hold these sites, look, we really want to see some progress on these now. This is what the people are demanding and expecting as well. And they've responded, and we've actually seen timelines come forward from them now on buildings like the Queen's Head, and I'm sure that when people are coming in to see the team that they'll be able to expand on that, but we have those dates in the diary now for seeing something actually achieved on those sites.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people will want to talk about today will be the question of schools and school places. People will see housing estates, new homes springing up all around Morpeth, and there's a fair amount of concern that we don't have sufficient capacity in our schools to cope with that. What could you say to those people to convince them that things are better?
Yeah, one of the things that we campaigned on in the run-up to the last election was on school places. We recognised that there was a gap there. We'd gone through and looked at the models and seen that there was a shortfall and that that would be quite substantial. In the time since the last consultation that we've had, we've identified the new site for Goose Hill, but really that's a like-for-like replacement. And the reason is that we don't actually have an issue per se in school places for first schools. Where the problem really hits is in the middle school, because we have fewer middle school and high school places than we do first school. And that's why after the last consultation we have stepped into adding an extra form into the middle schools. So in Chantry there will be instead of 4 forms, there'll be 5 forms in each year. That gives us an extra 120 places as we go, as people go through the school. And that will move, because whilst the problem at the moment is in the middle school, eventually that problem will move to the high school. That's something that we're monitoring, and when we need to make the investment to add additional places into King Edward's, then that's what we will do.